graduate students who are sitting here. And I'm give my detailed,
Dr. Shafi.
Dr. Shafi, Professor Saab, give my detailed introduction. I am founding faculty member in Pata University. I hold total 12 more years of teaching experience. So one thing which was missed in introduction in my CV as well, but I am also master trainer of Youth Education Foundation Pakistan for faculty development at Pakhtunkhwa Public Sector Universities, grant program 2023, and I am Pakistan US exchange alumni. I visited US back in 2019 as I was heading the project of English Words Programming, which we used to give employability skills, IT skills, and English language skills. And in that capacity, I represented Pakistan there in US. Recently, I came back from the conference that was arranged by Pak US Alumni Network and had a very good interaction with many professors there, as well as many diplomats which were interested to do more for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa youth. And I have published a book which is available on Amazon. You all can Google that. I have published an research paper in International Research Journal. This is a short intro of mine. Starting with a bit, first of all, the question from the students, which used to, some students still at, I guess, MPhil PG level are much clear, but the base level students are maybe not fully clear that whether Central Asian countries include which old countries. And 5 countries you discuss: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan are recognized states as a Central Asian country. And some are not still recognized as Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan, China, Mongolia, and Russia. Which my thinking was when we were discussing with the Rohit Saab that sir, which topic you are going to present. I said I will present on topic which is not related to China or Russia, because people mostly came here to deliver lectures on China and Russia. So I will go for some different type of thing. And in that capacity, I chose the topic. And secondly, because you people are not from management science background, you are from social sciences, so I made a big change in the topic to the Central Asia post-pandemic economic challenges. So that economic challenge may be a more interest topic for your course as well. Like socio-economic is the subject which you people are studying. So let's start with the presentation. I hope it is visible to all of the audience. Central Asia post-pandemic economic challenges. All of us here knows that the pandemic COVID-19, which came back in 2020, have shocked the, you can say, the corridors of our policymakers, our governments, our economies, and they have made a total paradigm shift, which we used to code in, which we professors used to code in research. And that pandemic change has created new market shift, new market dynamics, new market requirement for the Central Asian countries. Now, if we talk about that, which are the main economic contraction and sectoral impacts which will change in this post-pandemic in Central Asian countries, that is tourism decline. Like before COVID-19, there was a lot of tourists visiting Central Asian countries, and like not only local but international tourists, and they were generating revenues, and there was a lot of job opportunities for the Central Asian publics. But post COVID-19, people stopped visiting as airline was closed, lockdown was in process, and many other such things were in process that which was not allowing the tourists to go to that place and to enjoy the you can say the beauty of scenic views, or you can say the rich minerals and oil and other natural resources area. Second point which I thought is that disrupted supply chains. As there was lockdown in the process, those supply chains from all over the world coming to the that specific Central Asian countries got disturbed. And you know that we third world countries people or Central Asian countries people, we mostly prefer important things now. We are brand conscious people. We used to wear brand things, we used to wear branded items, we used to consume branded things. And then when the brands got supply disturbed, there was a need of, like it was, you can say, a situation in which there was shortage of these needy items. This had badly affected Central Asian countries. Third part which I noticed was commodity price fluctuation. Commodity price was fluctuation in so quickly that prices, that as the demand of the products were increasing, not only imported products but the local products which were produced, like natural resources products or something in that Central Asian countries, even that prices got very high, and there was no, and people could not afford the local commodity even needy products. This shift had badly affected that Central Asian Republic in COVID-19. Moving ahead, remittance decline and fiscal pressure. This is the second point I want to discuss, and why the remittance get declined. You know, the Central Asian countries, they are working, have concept of migration workers. Even us, including us in Pakistan, we used to prefer, nowadays you see many youngsters have brain drain, they go to foreign countries and they are searching jobs there, and they send remittances to the Pakistan and other Central Asian countries. But due to pandemic, there was loss of jobs, there was no requirement of more people from the other countries, and even the big economies, G20 countries, they didn't have the capacity to accommodate Central Asian people and other third world countries people. So the remittance dependency, which is the main income source for the many households of the society and Central, that was affected. Second, fiscal challenge which the government and Central Asian people were facing, as the government was not collecting tax properly, they were not able to tax people according to like the business community and others as they were doing before COVID-19. The income of the government reduced. Financial burden pressure increased on the government, and the budgetary figure, they could not even meet their basic, you can say, budget requirement of that country. So that was second challenge due to this pandemic. Third was currency depreciation. This all process lead to currency depreciation. The Central Asian countries' republic currency dropped, and dollar prices and other currency like which are we consider dollar, euro, you can say Chinese yuan and other top currencies, they escalated to such a high level that local currencies you can see that simply crashed. And if I talk about that currency depreciation, even the US stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange got crashed in oil sector. Oil was below, there were no person to buy or no company to buy even the 1 barrel of oil from those petrol pumps. As it was a lockdown, no one was using vehicles, people were locked at home. So that did a huge pressure of remittance decline, fiscal pressure on Central Asian countries. Then, what were the vulnerabilities in financial system? Basically, we are having some of, you can say, 4 vulnerabilities in financial system in Central Asian countries. Number one is access to credit. As these countries have passed through, now we are talking about post-COVID-19 era, these countries have passed through so big challenge that they were not able to get access to the credit, access to the loan for the basic startup. Like, you know, I want to quote that SME, small medium price sector, is the main sector nowadays in all over the world, which is contributing to the financial needs of the country. And in third world countries, G20 countries people, G8 country people, they love to eat our food. They love to eat Central Asian countries' food. The professor sitting here will agree with me that they like this. Why the people visited these places? Because of natural resources, because of food, because of different culture, different you can say socio-economic condition, different overall environment of these countries. And that as even the tourist affected, remittances affected, financial needs were not fulfilled of the local people, and there was no even there were a lot of loss of jobs by the public working in the Central Asian public, so Central Asian countries. So access to the credit was the first vulnerability in financial system of Central Asian countries post COVID-19. Second was inadequate financial infrastructure. If we talk about financial infrastructure of the Central Asian countries, it's not as robust, as strong as needed. It's a digital world. I used to say to my students that we live in a world which never sleeps. And if I talk about this thing, how our mobile phone are on 24/7. Our SMS or you can say WhatsApp or whatever apps we are using in this smartphone are connected with the banks. Even a single transaction you do in a bank, you get SMS. And that system are moving from old system to digitalization. It's a digital world now. Central Asian countries have to understand that digitalization of financial technology use and digitalization is the key to get to the competition of the post-COVID-19 era. So inadequate financial infrastructure was there. Then third, low financial literacy. Even till now, we have passed COVID back in 2021 and it's 2024. Still, many of us are not financially literate to deal how to save money, how to invest money, how to make more money. If we are not able, our governments are not able as well, our economies are not able as well, our policy makers which are sitting at the larger level, they are not able to take steps. I was talking to the Dean Sahab just a couple of minutes before that, sir, I was attending a conference and there was a person sitting who was heading, who was Dr. Ali Faisal something, he was heading the public-private partnership department of the government. And someone from the student community asked him, sir, have you done any business of your own? He said, yes, I did 3-4 businesses, but unfortunately, all of them failed. And I was a person, being a faculty member and being a senior Park US member, I raised hand and I asked, sir, you are heading the government policy making wing of the public and private partnership, and you personally failed your own business. How are you run this business of Pakistan government? How are you going to amend? How are you going to run that public-private partnership law? There is a lot of amendment needed in public-private partnership. And if you talk about even education institutions, social sector, financial sector, financial institutions, all of them need public support as well as public funds. Secondly, these public institutions now, all of us, even including our universities, public universities of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they need financial support of the private sector. It's only the way which can you can take you forward. Same goes for the Central Asian countries. They should, if their tourism is not up to the mark or not as required, or the sites are not as developed, they should work on that. They should invest on that. They should grant access. They should arrange financial literacy session there. State Bank in Pakistan has considered last year taken this initiative. They are conducting financial literacy session in different universities in Pakistan. Why? Only for students and faculty, because you are the people and we are the people who can communicate that to our families, our society, our you can say overall public, so that people should know what financial literacy is and why that is important for surviving in current post-COVID-19 era. Second, we Pakistanis are not saving nation. If we talk about this, compare ourselves with Indians, they are saving nation. They used to save money. Every single individual working in India or living in India, he or she do second job. He or she do even second private business or freelancing or something to generate further income. But when you talk about the Pakistan, even we being professors are not allowed, public sector universities are not allowed to take any additional classes, visiting classes, even visiting consultancy. And if university came to know about you are running a consultancy by doing, they will definitely going to charge you or maybe take any distinction. Yes.
You will have to pay to your own university.
33% is, sir, I will say a less amount. If you are doing that for money, and if your money and not only money, you are putting your extra efforts there. And if extra efforts utilized in such a way, then it's not only this 33%, it gets to tax, it gets to treasury office, it gets to, I have been to that system, it take a lot of efforts to run. Well, coming back to the topic, what I want to say here is financial literacy is very important for Central Asian countries to get to know how funds are utilized. As this is a simple economic concept, there are scarce resources and we need to fulfill our needs and wants through scarce resources. Fourth, system weaknesses. If we talk about the government setups, if we talk about the policy setups in Central Asian countries, their institutions are not as strong as we compare to the Western world. The institutions are very much strong. They are, like you can say, if even their president sign any deal, if their prime minister sign any deal, the institutions are strong enough to stop them even. But in our country, it's opposite. It's vice versa. Institutions are facilitator, the best facilitator to do whatever the leadership want to do. Same goes for Central Asian countries even. There is a big challenge for them to take such steps to make their country financially independent to make such policies which can meet the economic challenges of Central Asian countries. So system weaknesses are also there, and it's a big reason which has been followed from start till now, even after post-COVID-19 era. Structure challenges and the path forward. These are some of structure challenges which we are facing in Central Asian countries. Number one is governance and corruption. As I talk about this, that we Central Asian countries are basically financially weak countries, or not as strong economically. Although we are rich in financial resources, although these Central Asian countries, these Central Asian countries are very rich in natural resources, they could not able to market them properly. They were not able to sell them properly. They are not able to cash them properly. And this is the basically governance issue. Second, corruption. If such process of initiative takes start, the corruption level is so high in such governance or systems that they stop to process that Central Asian countries in that. Second point which I am going to discuss here in structural challenges are diversification and private sector growth. If we compare even in country like Pakistan, private sector growth is far much higher than public sector growth. Our public system, our Babu system, they are not able to accept any change because they find this insecurity. If you ask them to use technology, they will say, "Na, manaf bada no kare ladi, manaf bada kar ladi, da is abane parune elekra da bos masara mukable ki no." This thinking need to be changed not only in our country but in Central Asian countries as well. We need to diversify. Our government department need to diversify. We need to sit together. In our university, there is a famous terminology, academia industry linkages. But if I ask all of us, are sitting here, what role we have played being a teacher or being a student in industry academia linkages? I was discussing with Sir Dean Saab that, sir, you are so experienced and you have contributed so much in that thing. Have you used this knowledge in applied side, like your work with civil secretariat or any other department? So that I have attended a number of meetings, but when I used to give suggestions, they don't follow. That's why I don't attend. So if this is the approach of the government in countries like Pakistan and other Central Asian countries, then how you will compete with your economic challenges, how you will cope with your economic challenges. So private sector growth need to be followed by the public sector organization. That vertical system need to be replaced by horizontal system. Young people should be listened. Experienced people youngsters should follow the experienced people. It's a best in management. We call it the best fit when experienced young people work together. We can utilize their qualification. We can utilize their experiences, and we can use our energy. We can use our latest technology. We can use our latest knowledge, and that is the reason to get out of this economic challenge, not by Pakistan but all the Central Asian countries. Third, regional cooperation. If I talk about regional cooperation, it's, you can say, near to zero by all the Central Asian countries. Why? Because of funds, because of financial stability. Central Asian countries are even not able to meet our own economic change. How we will cooperate with other countries? How we will coordinate with other countries? How we will take such steps in which we ask them to sit together and find a way out, find a way to get to that destination in which we at least have financial liberty. I was discussing this in a conference. There was a person who was from the finance department. He was some additional secretary in federal government, and the other person sitting was the World Bank representative. And World Bank representative, when he had a panel discussion with us, he said, "We have give millions of dollars to Pakistan government, but what we do, and eventually, he pointed out our you can say DMG officers and bureaucracy, even the highly qualified people, they park that in bank and earn daily profit, and they meet their expenses. Government meet the expenses on daily profit, and at end of June, when June is arriving, hurry up, utilize the money, use the money. Otherwise, government will not give you another allocation for the next year." This is the issue of and they don't take steps. what the conference main theme was that all the Pak USA Alumni Network working on different administrative positions, they should come forward and they should help the government how to meet their economic needs, how to go for investments, how to make Pakistan a saving nation, how to make even, I will say, Central Asian countries with economic liberty and with their financial stability. So we have to change this thinking. Then the last point, which in this structure challenges and path forward, is international assistance. If I talk, we heavily rely on you can say international assistance, and not only us but all the Central Asian countries recognize one totally rely on international assistance. If any UN agency is funding them, if any USAID is funding them, if any IMF is funding, World Bank is funded, they are able to meet their economic change, they are able to make their financial stability, they are able to make more development of their natural resource and marketing. But if they stop funding, at the moment they stop funding, these countries' economy get bankrupt. And this is the reason where you can say the financial liberty is not gained by the Central Asian countries. Then the main important point that is in our discussion, debt sustainability concern. We are expert, we Central Asian countries are expert in taking debt from the international donor agencies, but we are not expert in returning them, we are not expert in restructuring them, we are not expert in utilizing debt for generating more income source for the country, generating more income sources for Central Asian countries, generating more income sources for youngsters and the household and other people. Why? Because we take that, we park that in a bank on daily profit basis, we use that profit for meeting our daily expenses, and at the end of the day the amount is allocated to your PHDP program in government sector we say, and or you can say CWP program, and we run different schemes. And if you look into this in detail on all the Central Asian countries, no mega steps have been taken to cope with this debt sustainability. No mega step has been taken that till when we will be taking that. If I talk about in Pakistan, we are taking that since 1957, and till now we are taking, and there is no, I don't think, as a finance expert even, I don't think that maybe a time came that Pakistan is able to say, sorry, we don't need your debt. I don't think so. So this is a debt sustainability concern, and it's a big challenge for Central Asian countries. Migration remittances impact. The number one point here is job losses. When pandemic came, huge amount of people were jobless, specifically women who were doing small jobs, running small restaurants in Central Asian countries, small startups like beautician and stitching and this type of, they all got jobless. And there were no government policy to help them out to cope with this situation. Second is household vulnerability. As the remittances level get down, as the job losses get high, as the other financial, you can say, needed get arise. Because if you got affected by the corona, even in those days, you need oxygen cylinder, you need that medication, you need it, and if you don't have that money, people lost their lives in that. Reduce investment. If I talk about this investment, which is my subject as well, what the main issue is, we are not saving even 10% of income even we people are getting. And same thinking goes for the Central Asian countries. What we do when we earn money, we change our car, we change our house, we change our lifestyle, we change our spending habits, but we don't go for investment. But we don't go for buying any assets, we don't go for buying any property. And at the end, when our organization are bankrupt or default and they could not pay us the salaries or financial you can say compensation, then we think, oh, my investment time or in public universities we are ready for such challenge. Peshawar University is example, and others are coming. All public university one day you will see they will either privatize or they will be doing such thing. Because investments are not, and it's not only the problem of Pakistan, it's a problem of Central Asian countries. It's a problem of even every government department in Pakistan, every government department in Central Asian countries. It's a problem of even every household in Central Asian countries. We get money, even Central Asian countries, if you Google it, Central Asian countries people, what they do when they get money or earn money, they go for Europe trip, they go for you can say hiking try or something in which, or they are going to buy a car, they are changing their lifestyle, they are focusing more on their upper lobe, outer lobe than look on say going for saving money for the future. If I ask idea sitting here, even the senior faculty member and professor, my seniors as well, how many of you have do debt insurance plan for yourself? Hardly 1 to 2% of people will answer me that yes, we did it. Or university mutta kadera, university of mutam kadera, tastam kadera, but it will get mature after 30 years. What if we don't have money after 10 years? What if we don't have money after 5 years? So we should take steps to follow take such steps by doing insurance to ourselves, insurance for family, insurance for kids, that when in future we are not in such health situation that in which we can work, we should have such money to meet our financial needs. And this thinking, this financial literacy should be inculcated with all these Central Asian countries public. Then the last point is digital transformation here. Digital transformation is the key to meet all the economic challenges, all the financial challenges in now era. If you see, I used to say to my student, the world is in your palm. And if I talk about this mobile phone, you can do, this is a globalization era. You can transfer money here sitting in this room to anywhere in the world. Same goes for Central Asian countries. The people living there, they can transfer money to anywhere, any funds, even they can buy anything. And hardly there will be people who can say, no sir, you are not right. If you sit on Amazon, you can order anything, any product from anywhere in the world. If you sit on, this is a freelancing era. People sitting here, we represent a bit to Central Asian countries. How many of us have not ordered online? Almost all the people have ordered online anything, starting from watch till shoes, and we have taken. But no one, maybe hardly someone had tried to start their own business there. Very easy and free app if I talk about digital transformation. Facebook Marketplace, free of cost. Our social media handle Instagram. You can say BaitStay.com. If I talk about the carsparkwheels.com, OLX.com, you can sell anything. If those platforms there, why not you can take out, present your own platform in which you have expert, in which you have services. How many of you have ID on Upwork? How many of you have ID on Freework? How many of you have ID on other apps in which you can earn money for yourself, even at the student age? But we are waiting for something to come ready-made to us, and then we will spend our life. There is no ready-made, there is no survey, there is no government to come and help these Central Asian countries to come out of this hot water. And if we don't want to help ourselves, our countries will even don't help. We don't have such a capacity even to go for meeting such challenges. So digital transformation is the key for Central Asian countries to get out of this financial challenge. Inequalities and sectoral impacts. If I talk about the inequality sectoral impacts in Central Asian countries post COVID-19, first we talk about the tourism. What was done in tourism sector? As I told, that borders were closed, flights were cancelled, and people were not able to visit Central Asian countries. Even the local people living in Central Asian countries were not able to travel. They were not allowed to travel. Second, if I talk about informal sector, there are many people, workers working in different, you can say, who were attached with the tourism industry in Central Asian countries. They lost their jobs, they lost their income. And those who working abroad, they lost their job, they were not able to send remittances to their country, through which they can meet their economic needs. So Central Asian country badly affected. Third, women. If we talk about women in Central Asian countries, the more job loss, according to Gallup study 2020, was women. They lost jobs in huge number than men, because they have some basic skills and they are working in small and medium enterprise sector. And if you are working a small setup and you face one loss, you will maybe survive. But if you face multiple loss again and again, and your business is shut down or locked down, your business will finish. And most of the female who are connected with that small medium enterprises in Central Asian countries, and they lost their jobs. Fourth point here is youth. If I talk about youth, in these Central Asian countries, there you can see the population of youth is higher than the European countries, than the G20 countries, than the G8 countries. But even those youth, some of them were affected by job loss, some of them were affected to not access to the credit from the bank, some of them were not able to get any financial support from any international national donor so that they could meet their economic challenges. So they even left education, they left jobs, they face a financial crunch in that case. So these were the issues which I noticed in my homework. You people will definitely add to it, and we will have a good question and session at the end. Toward a resilient future, what is the way forward? How we will come out of this post-COVID-19 challenges of the financial challenges of the Central Asian countries? Number one, diversification and digitalization. We need to diversify our thing. We need to diversify our knowledge in hiring people from different backgrounds, hiring expertise from different backgrounds. We have to know what I used to see even in classes now. We have to come out of this dilemma of religion, of nation, of, you can say, Muslim community, and we have to open our arms for everyone. We have to make our entry exit area barriers easy. If you are having easy entry barrier to any Central Asian countries or anywhere in the world, you will have a door of opportunity to work. But if you will have your entry barrier or exit barrier hard one, don't expect any financial investment in your country. Then I am talking about digitalization. It's an era of digitalization. If you think without using this mobile phone, without using this laptop, without using this technology, you can compete, sorry. We cannot compete. Our Central Asian countries cannot compete with the speed and pace of the world. Everything is digitalized. If you see this slide, at the end it is written made with gamma. It's what is a technology. We professors sitting here and my senior sitting here and students sitting here, all of them know to make a slide PowerPoint. But maybe some of them know that nowadays there are apps. You just give your data and the apps are going to make it in a presentation phase. And this is which I did the previous night through this app. Data was mine, search was mine, but this design of the, you can say, this slides and design of this presentation was by the app. So if I, in my middle ages, can use it, you people are more young, you people are more energetic, you can use more such apps, more such digitalization way to make yourself grab a better, brighter job. Second, strengthening institutions. As I talked in previous some slides as well, but I will add to it. Our institutions in Central Asian countries are very weak. I quoted example of even US, I quoted example of UK, I quoted example of many other developed countries in G8 countries specifically. The institutions are so strong that if their prime minister and president take any step, the institutions are able to veto that step. The institutions are able to protest even that. But in Central Asian countries, institutions are not as strong to take step against these things. So you need to make institution strong in Central Asian countries if you want to cope with these financial challenges. Regional cooperation and integration. We need to understand that as Central Asian countries, we need to sit together and find a way forward for cooperation. Like SAARC conference happened, like other such conferences happened. There should be a conference for Central Asian countries on annual basis, where people, experts, scholars, and policymakers should come together and they should discuss things, they should highlight issues, and they should find a way to issues. We Central Asian countries people are very expert in highlighting issues and critics, but we are very bad in providing solutions. We are not a good solution provider. but we are very good question raiser, we are very good critical thinker, we are very good making, you can say, criticize things easily. But if you come up with solution, none of us will have a solution for that. So that regional cooperation and integration need to be established. Some other addition, how to overcome these challenges in Central Asian countries post COVID-19. First point which I want to give here is promoting fintech program integrated to support social program. There are many financial apps, every bank account you people are having, Easy Paisa, Jazz Cash in Pakistan, and if I have Central Asian countries, every bank even have a mobile banking app. But no country, Central Asian countries, is having that app for how to get any, you can say, how to buy a food, how to buy something like in which you can use technology for social sector development. Search poor people in country, search needy people in country, search educational opportunities in countries through apps. For that we used to go to website. Why not apps? Because they think that's not a profit-making institution. The app may not give us profit. So our fintech companies, fintech area need to be merged with supporting social sector program in Central Asian countries, so that their financial challenges should be met, their economic challenge should be beaten. Second point, strengthen corporate sectors and business institutions and enhance resilience to future economic and pandemic shocks. We will be facing such shocks again and again, sometimes in shape of pandemic COVID-19, sometimes in shape of you can say stock exchange crashes, sometimes in shape of financial loss, sometimes in shape of economic turmoil. But how we will cope? We have to strengthen our corporate sector, and we public sector organizations in Central Asian countries have to learn from corporate sector. Why corporate sector is making profit? I used to quote to my student that one of my friends is working as a general manager in MC Bank. He was sharing me last year in June, Dr. Saab, the profit of my Khyber Pakhtunkhwa MCB region is more than the government budget. I said, which government budget? My KP government budget or federal government? And he was saying, no sir, federal government budget. If this is the situation of the corporate sector of your country, in which government is begging for a single penny from the international donor agencies, how you can expect your financial liberty? How you can expect your economic liberty? You need to meet that pace. You need to hire those people, you need to escalate those people to such higher position in Central Asian countries who can compete with corporate sector, who can compete with that requirement, that challenges which are with that skill set even. I will again quote a conference back I attended in Brazil in 2019. In Brazil, when I was attending conference, there a discussion came from a professor and that Chamber of Commerce of Sao Paulo. We are not getting that student graduate from the universities which skill set we require in Brazil. And a person sitting to me from Punjab, he was professor in UMT Lahore, a private sector university. He raised hand. Same is the case with Pakistan. The other one sitting from Kazakhstan, he raised hand. Same is the case with Kazakhstan. It means it's our not only Central Asian problem, but it's problem of the major world even, that we are not producing graduates of that level, that skill set which are required by industry, which are required by the marketplace, which are required by that economy. So if we are not producing the right people with that required skill set, how are we going to meet our economic and financial challenges? These things need to be focused on. Use of technology by everyone residing in Central Asian countries. Without technology, there is no way forward to meet your economic and financial challenges. Although to buy technology, to use technology we face resistance, we face a bit issues. Our elders sometimes face issues, but it's a need of time that we need to use fintech and technology to cope with this challenge. By this, I will end my presentation, and thank you very much for listening to me. And the forum is open for discussion now. You can ask any question.
Please.
Please.
Either they were closed or controlled as in the Farmers Union, or not they opened their economy to the different sectors, especially in these sectors which I have mentioned. What is your comments?
We used to quote this by mentioning two economies. One is capitalist structure and the other is communist structure. When we talk about the capitalist structure, our all financial companies working all around the world, or our own economies even working all around the world, they go for a capitalist structure which is US-based structure, in which private owner is earning more than the public owner. The private organization is earning more profit than the public organization. Your corporate sector is earning more than that. In our countries, first of all, we rely more than 60% on international funding in our budgets. And not in our case, in all these international countries' case, they rely on international. So when they give you fund for the meeting a budgetary requirement, they have developed a say. And when they develop a say, they say don't use your resources. If you can say nowadays on Facebook, on you can social media, there is a saying on کہ ہم نے پاس اسٹڈی میں شاید یہ ریسورسز پڑھے تھے, فزیکلی ہمیں تھرک کے ان کے ریسورسز نظر نہیں آئے. یہ بات ان کنٹریز کے لیے بھی سر ہے. ان کنٹریز میں بھی ریسورسز ہیں, بٹ دے ڈونٹ فائنڈ اے وے ٹو ٹیپ, اور ایون دے آر ناٹ الاؤ بائی دیئر گورنمنٹ, دیئر پالیسی میکرز ٹو ٹیپ دیٹ ریسورسز, ٹو یوز دوز ریسورسز, ٹو سیل دوز ریسورسز. I don't understand even such concept. Why, for what they are saving those resources? If they are not using today, when will they use? When the world will collapse, when the third world war will collapse, what they are waiting for? They need to use these resources. Even Pakistan need to tap these resources. And not only for such, if you use these resources, even then we don't have technology to, I will come again to my topic, we don't have technology to tap those resources. You are quoting the countries which are absolutely right that they rate from 1 to 5 all over the world in those resources. But if you don't have the technology to tap that resources to the market, to take that to the market and sell that in the market for profit making for the country, sorry, they are dependent again on those donor agencies.
So lack of technology.
Lack of technology.
Lack of managerial technology.
Lack of technology, lack of managerial, lack of access to finance as well. Even you need to need technology, you need funds even to use that to dig out those resources to sell. Okay, if you have even used your own technology and your own setup to dig the resources, but how you will sell it in international market? You need to develop international market. If you want to sell something in international market, first of all you need to make an exhibition, take your samples to the international market to develop a demand for international from our products, and then you go to sell that. But even you don't again come late came to the, you don't have access to the finance for that.
Yes.
Please.
Sir Hussain Khan, the scholar of this department. Sir, I have a question. For example, we have a good relationship with Turkey because of history. Historically, we have a good relation with Turkey. So why Pakistan haven't a good relationship with the Central Asian countries historically as well as
In the field of economics.
You are asked a very good question. Pakistan foreign policy needs such things to have a good relationship with all the neighboring countries and all the Central Asian countries. But again, I will come to that. But we make good relations with those countries which are supporting us financially, which are supporting us technologically. Turkey is just offering us scholarships and you can say just a small type of support, logistically support or something. They are not offering us anything financially. And this is the war I was talking with your Honorable Dean in his room. That's an economic war now. No other further studies are needed. No further research is needed. Just all of us in this Central Asian country need to work on our economic issues, our financial issues.
An economic war of survival.
Survival, yes. If you can say, can Israel beat that other countries alone? No. They need US support. They need other big power support. And US President Joe Biden signed a bill in which he is going to support not only Israel but Taiwan and others. If you go to the statistic and see the Taiwan is financially sound than all other countries in the world. Even China. It was a state of China, but it got independent. Why they need funds in Taiwan? Sometimes my students used to ask, sir, Nestle ko dekho company da sir, why they are selling their shares? My bache companies always need money. Sir, Pepsi ko dekho company da sir, Coke ko dekho company da, Apple ko dekho company da, why they are selling shares again and again? My bache companies always need money. And sir, what about Pakistan? Well, Pakistan always need money, but we have nothing to sell. What we can sell? Nothing. Even we cannot sell our skill set. And believe me, this is the statement of some foreign diplomats, recent conference 2 days back which I attended, to when you have a discussion on FATA and all those. He said, Dr. Dil, what I found, Pakistani people are very talented, and especially Pakhtuns are so talented that they can make miracles. But unfortunately, your policymakers, your government don't allow them, or even don't provide them platform. If we can provide them platform, why not your government? And I had no answers. Same, let me quote you another example. DG of NIC, National Information Center of All Pakistan, was sitting here. He said, we are going to do this and that, and we are going to open Women Incubation Center in Pakistan, all this. I raised hand, sir, any center for FATA? And he had no answer. Sorry, FATA is not on list. I said, do you consider FATA out of that thing? No, his answer was, नहीं पेशावर में तो सेंटर है ना. मैंने कहा सर पेशावर में सेंटर है, but it is taking none of step for FATA. इलाका गैर था या उनकी लिस्ट भी नहीं. Then in the tea break he came to me कि डॉक्टर साहब खफा ना हो, वो मैं बता भी था आप मुझे अपना एड्रेस दे दें, अपनी वीसी का नाम दे दें, मैं उससे इंटरेक्शन कर लेंगे, खैर मीटिंग अभी साहब को लेकर. मैंने कहा सर आपने तो बात ही खत्म कर ली है, जब आपकी प्रायोरिटी लिस्ट में ही नहीं है तो फिर तो बात ही खत्म. सेम गोस फॉर सेंट्रल एशियन कंट्रीज. अगर मेरे मुल्क में ये कुछ हो सकता है तो और कंट्रीज में हो सकता है. सर
Please. My name is Dr. Idris Masood. I am a PhD from the center. The Central Asian economies, as well as the Asian tigers, especially the Central Asian countries, these were conservative. That's why they survived liberalism, neoliberal order as well in the 90s, because they were conservative. They resisted it strongly. Today, in the wake of the international monetary muddle that has been created, don't you think that they should still pursue the same style of economics, development economics? They should try to avoid all the lamented topics that we are facing here in Pakistan, that you have also mentioned, like debt servicing, and many other things that must be avoided. The comparative advantages that those countries have, those must be protected. They're internationally, those are in danger nowadays. That is what I feel. Those have to be protected. Like in Uzbekistan, gold is their major product, and they can export that. But then there has to be a very cautious approach. If the gold leaves the country, it would be a loss to me. But somehow, if its value is mainstreamed into the economy and it doesn't leave that country, I think that would be the right path for that. Likewise, as you have already mentioned, regional cooperation is a good idea. We have also started it with those countries, and it should be within our own currencies.
yes.
Thank you very much.
Very good question, sir. I will say it, there are two things. First of all, national interest and economic interest. When you talk about national interest, you need to conserve your culture, your religion, your you can say all those natural resources which you need in future. Then if we come to financial part of that thing, financial interest, my question which in my mind came is basically why we are preserving these things. what we will do in future. I'm not talking about the culture and all thing, I'm just talking about the resources. If you were to quote about Uzbekistan is having huge resources of gold. But for what they are saving, if they are in hot water, their people need jobs, their people need opportunities, their people need to meet their economic challenges. If they are not able to satisfy and meet their own public challenges, for what they are using, just for this reason that in Pakistan or in other countries we have a lot of use of coal and we will be keeping it when we all will vanish, and then they will come and take out those point. But my point was use of technology to at least meet your basic needs of the country. At least basic needs should be met. Yes, you are absolutely right. The culture should be preserved. Being an academics guy, I need to understand and I need to quote in classrooms as well, in seminars as well, that we need to preserve our culture, we need to preserve our resources, we need to preserve our all those liberal concept answers. But we need to follow capitalist model economy as well. This is the need of time. We need to follow fintech, financial technology as well. All of us are using WhatsApp in our mobile. All of us are using technology in our mobile. But if we come to the point where we are using that for country development, economic development, or social development, we just stop. No, that is not my subject or my cup of tea. Government will do it. That's
monitoring, maintaining, running everything. I think these small states, including Pakistan, recently we also shut down the Twitter. It's very hard for them to monitor this, or all of a sudden take the repercussions of digital transformation. So that's why we still living. Neither we can create our own digital platforms like China, neither we have the capacity to monitor, and nor we can afford to be on this Western digital media. So I think that's one of the reasons that we are still stuck a kind of 90s and this. And if you want to comment, so.
A very good question. I want to comment that there is a law on this digital transformation, digital apps. State Bank of Pakistan have made back in 2022. I can share that with you, even I had that in my WhatsApp even. You can develop any app for you meeting your social media needs or for meeting your financial needs. But if you are developing something in which you are offering investment, in which you are taking investment from public, in which you are offering them trading, in which you are offering them such apps in which they can earn money, then you need to read that regulations of State Bank of Pakistan on digital transformation, on digitalization. And what I will say, if anyone, youngsters have so much ability. Your own University of Peshawar graduates, even some of my FATA University graduates, they are so able to develop apps. They have done Prime Minister Kamyab Jawan. I have also executed that 2 projects in my university as well. And in Peshawar University, it's in process as well. I guess in physics department or computer science department, they are running these 2 courses: Android app development and IoT. What that is how to develop an app. And they give you money to subscribe to Google and develop an app. And even when the app is marketed or you can digitalize, you can use that for earning. But you need to, if it's relevant to the finance, if it's relevant to some public money, then you need to follow that. You have to inform State Bank of Pakistan. You have to take approval from State Bank of Pakistan. You have to register that app with SECP, Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan. And then you need to, yes, we all can do it. You're talking about China, that they're managing so well, 1.5 billion population, and all those, and they have developed such a strong institution system. The institutions are so strong, the financial institutions are so strong that they are able to monitor each and every move of their public. And you will get amazed to listen, astonished to listen that in Pakistan even that is. If you just give me your name and CNIC, I can search through State Bank desk, World Bank, check in which if you have accounted anywhere in the world, you will be traced out. And if you have did default even that in Pakistan, in Peshawar, State Bank desk. Second, you talk about that, sir, why if we cannot, we are in control economy, or we are dependent on Western, we are dependent on Western, you can say economy, or Western culture, Western apps, because they have secure system. What lack is Pakistan is having, or Central Asian countries people are having, they don't have secure. If you open WhatsApp, there is written, its chat is encrypted between 2 people. Right? All of you sitting here will agree with this point. it means that WhatsApp chat will not leak out and will not be shared with it. Same goes for the apps they create. You open an app of Amazon, you open an app of any app which is developed by US companies, US fintech companies, UN tech company, they are so strong in securing your money, your principal amount, your investment amount, your saving, your profit, your investments. But Pakistani apps are unfortunately, or Central Asian country apps are a bit, you can say, loose somewhere. So people don't trust. Even if I say, let's make it very simple. I'm going to sell 1,000 share of Nestle here. How many of you are interested to buy those shares? Raise your hands if anyone is interested. One? Okay. If I'm going to sell Al Ghazi tractor shares here, how many of you will going to? Maybe none of you. Why? Because it was a multinational brand. All of you know that multinational, even this Israel and Palestine war, they didn't get affected by the boycott. And your money is safe. You are investing because your money will grow, your share will grow, you will get good return. But you will not invest in Pakistani company Al Ghazi tractor because you know इस पर नहीं लगेगी, पैसे डूबने से, उनका investment हम सब उन्होंने. This is the reason. Let's talk about this. How many of you are ready if I say let's open an account in Standard Chartered Bank? All of you will raise hand. Sir, आपका core bank service वर्क है. और जो राजे ने stake national bank दे, बदो कदमों बांधे योम बना पास. Why? Because we don't trust our institution. And this is not only our problem, but all the Central Asian countries' problem. So not only the digitalization of fintech, but even financial institutions are not trusted. I hope your question is answered. Any question, please? In that, you will take a proposal for financial winning grants. I can help out you in grabbing US funded, because being a Pak US alumni, they used to prefer, even currently, if anyone of you are applying for Master's Fulbright program, they have a good number of allocation for KP this time. Because I met Rida Javed after recent conference, and I was complaining about my postdoc that I am applying for a second time, and being a US alumni, even I am not able to get it. So her answer was that these will lie on the different scale. 13 seats are for postdoc, people with 7 years of teaching experience and with below less than 40 years of age. You have 12 years of teaching experience and your age is 38. So you don't come in that, both criteria. And the two candidates are for, seats are for the person having 45 years of age with more than 7 years of teaching experience. So I don't come in, I am coming mixed, so that's why I am not getting any. You can get many, use those programs as well. Apply for such programs, and your mind will get exposed to many such things which can contribute to your center. This you people are so lucky than our even foreign university students. We have state-of-art campus which recently we completed. I was heading that director of planning and development charge in that administrative position. We work with faculty, work very hard to get our own campus. But even then we don't have such a platform. We don't have such a senior faculty sitting around who can help you out in many such projects as well. You can write an email to any embassy, Central Asian country. You can write email to any Russian embassy, Chinese embassy, US embassy, UK embassy. That we students need to study your culture, and they will send a dozen of documents about their culture, videos. Even if you say, if you are dean or HOD, send an email that we are students want to visit, they welcome, they love to share their culture with you.
Digital platform.
Yes.
Yes.
They are good.
Presentation.
Dr. Saab.
जी बलूचिस्तान से हमारा मेहमान है जी.
वर्ल्ड बैंक, IMF, कहाँ तक बेनिफिशियल है थर्ड वर्ल्ड के लिए?
वर्ल्ड बैंक, IMF,
जितने भी साम्राज्य,
जितने इंटरेस्टेड. सर, वर्ल्ड बैंक आपको कैश भी देता. वर्ल्ड बैंक आपको फंड करता है दो सेक्टर. एक करता है एजुकेशन, जो HEC को कर रहा है पाकिस्तान में. मैं HEC बिजनेस स्कॉलर था, मेरी PhD पेशावर यूनिवर्सिटी से, IMS डिपार्टमेंट का मैं पहला PhD हूँ यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ पेशावर का. उसके बाद मेरे बाद दो ग्रेजुएट, उसके बाद प्रोग्राम गार्ड क्लोज. तो मैं HEC के नीचे स्कॉलरशिप में मैंने पढ़ा. सर, मुझे तीसरे साल में जाके पता चला कि हमारी जो फंडिंग है वर्ल्ड बैंक कर रहे हैं. HEC को जितनी फंडिंग हो रही है वो वर्ल्ड बैंक कर रहे हैं. जितने हमारे स्कॉलर्स चाहे पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के जितने बाहर PhD करने गए हुए हैं किसी भी कंट्री, ऑल ऑफ देम आर फंडेड बाय वर्ल्ड बैंक थ्रू HEC। सेकंड, वर्ल्ड बैंक सर काम इन्वेस्टमेंट करता है या पैसे लगाता है, वो कैश में कुछ नहीं देता, वो हेल्थ में लगाता है। हेल्थ सेक्टर में जितने आपकी अपॉर्चुनिटी, डॉक्टर्स की ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम है, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग है, वो है, उस पर वो इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहा है पाकिस्तान में। तीसरी उसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है सर, ये पब्लिक वर्क्स एक डिपार्टमेंट है हमारा जो आपके हैंड पैप और क्लीन ड्रिंकिंग और सैनिटेशन, ड्रिंक और सैनिटेशंस को वो एड्रेस करता है, बट थ्रू फंडिंग द डिफरेंट एजेंसीज और डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट। IMF सर कैश देता है, इसलिए हमें उसको सबसे ज़्यादा उसको अपने उसमें नज़रों में बैठा के रखते हैं। और हम सब थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज, नॉट ओनली पाकिस्तान, सब थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज़ में IMF जो है वो कैश में कंट्रीब्यूशन करते हैं उनकी बजटरी सपोर्ट में, ताकि वो अपने बेसिक इकोनॉमिक नीड्स को मीट कर सके, अपने बेसिक फाइनेंशियल चैलेंजेस को मीट कर सके। तीसरा जो इंस्टीट्यूशन है एशियन डेवलपमेंट बैंक सर, ये हमारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे फंड करता है। आपके लिए जो ये जितने, जिसे हम लोग तो मजाकन कहते हैं जंगला बस सर्विस ना, BRT सर्विसेज जितने पाकिस्तान में आप नज़र आ रहे हैं, इवन ऑरेंज ट्रेन जो लाहौर में है और या BRT सर्विसेज हैं, रैपिड ट्रांसपोर्ट, ये सब एशियन डेवलपमेंट बैंक फंडेड है। वो भी आपको कैश नहीं देता, वो भी आपको ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, वो आपको हॉस्पिटल बना देगा, वो आपको कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटीज़ बना देगा, वो आपको ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम रोड्स बना देगा, ब्रिजेस बना देगा, लेकिन वो आपको कैश नहीं देंगे और आपके डिपार्टमेंट से असाइन उस पर लगेंगे अटैचमेंट। तो ये तीनों में सर बेसिक डिफरेंस।
इकोनॉमिक कहाँ खड़ा हुआ है
सर हमारे
दिन ब दिन तो
हमारा इकोनॉमिक टोटली रिलाई कर रहे हैं पर अभी जो कंडीशन है, मैंने आदमी के बजट 65% बजट कंट्रीब्यूशन लास्ट ईयर पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट के साथ हुआ ऑफ द IMF बजट तो फुल, लेकिन इसकी सपोर्ट इसकी जब आपके कंट्री के इनकम अपने जनरेटरी सोर्सेज 20 से 30% भी ना हो और आप 65-70% रिलाई करें एक मुल्क पर, तो फिर तो उनका फुल ही हुआ है। तो हम रिलाई कर रहे हैं फुली सर, कोई फिलहाल तक तो कोई वो नहीं है। डिजिटलाइजेशन इज़ द वे, इफ़ वी गो फॉर डिजिटलाइजेशन तो मे भी हम निकल आएंगे।
डॉक्टर साहब एक और भी, लेकिन कॉमन सेंस, एक तो ये कि अगर आप ज़्यादा पैसे खर्च करते हैं, मसलन 1000 रुपये आपके साथ और आप खर्च कर रहे हैं 1000 से ज़्यादा, तो फिर भी आपके मसाइल ख़त्म नहीं होंगे। ठीक है, प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अभी जो 65